10:01, so let's get started. Thank you all so much for being here. I really do appreciate you all for joining me. I hope in some small part my weird email made you come. And if you didn't read my email, do, because I took way too long writing it. I was too excited about it. I even read it to my wife. So, guys, I want to talk about ChatGPT and specifically ChatGPT, but I guess that all the different AI out there. We had done a training on this like right when ChatGPT came out. It was immediate. I think it was good, but everything has changed since then with ChatGPT for the most part. It has gotten so much better that it's hard to even understand. And every new advancement, unlike with like Apple, where like a new iPhone comes out and they're like, yeah, the buttons are a little bit bigger on the side, and that'll be $1,500. That this is like actual changes every time they put out a new one. So I'm excited to talk through this with you and to teach you a little bit more about ChatGPT. And I'm actually going to I'll stay just me to start with. So first, what I want to say is go quickly through what is ChatGPT. Some of you may have heard of it or use it regularly. Some of you may not really use it. And some of you might be scared of it, which I think is like fair. I think a lot more people are kind of freaked out by it than will admit. Because it is run by a company called OpenAI. Now, OpenAI was a nonprofit organization for a long time. And this nonprofit was founded by tech geniuses and billionaires and all these different people. Elon Musk was famously involved, gave them their first seed money or a big chunk of it. And it's run by a guy named Sam Altman and has a lot of really intelligent people involved. And their stated goal, and this is why I think it freaks people out, is to create general intelligence. So general intelligence is the kind of AI you think of when you get freaked out about the idea of AI. So it's like a living being that is digital, right? And so the fact that is like the stated goal, I understand is a bit freaky to people. Even though I'm a tech forward person, someone that enjoys technology and is fascinated by it, that it gives me pause when I hear that. Like, oh yeah, okay, so like Skynet from Terminator, cool. That's a good idea. So I get it. I get why it's a little freaky, and it kind of made waves, right? Like when it first came out, it really made waves, and everyone started using it, and then it kind of like with most things kind of died down a little bit. It didn't mean people stopped using it, but it's not having this huge, cultural relevance for a little bit because it wasn't as good as what we all kind of wanted it to be. Like it was good, but it would also just make stuff up. It would also just like go on these weird tangents about things, and its utility for business wasn't necessarily there. I believe that it has crossed that threshold, and that the utility is now there. And funny enough, as that has happened and it has started making more and more money and have more and more possibilities, OpenAI somehow through some means went from a nonprofit to a for-profit company. Maybe that's the most telling thing is that the people running it were like, we should be making billions of dollars on this, right? And they all agreed, and there you go. I won't go into that. I don't fully get what happened. So what is ChatGPT though? Like, what is this AI? So it's something called a large language model, right? Which is to say that it is a computer that is able to take in a bunch of data and then retain it, pull from it instantly, and use it and kind of work with it with you. And in that way, it can feel like, especially depending on how you use ChatGPT, it can really feel like you're going back and forth with somebody, to put it in whatever terms I can, and working with somebody. There are massive strengths, and there are definitely limitations, right? Some of the strengths, you can create a massive amount of content very quickly. It can also distill large amounts of data, written, numerical, etc., and kind of synthesize it down, distill it down, and work with it. So an example of this that I use and will continue to use are the blueprints that we make here, right? So at some point it kind of hit me, okay, we have like 5, blueprints now, which is to say that we have like hundreds of pages of information and a structure that we've built and a kind of a recipe that we follow. So like that's a great example of something that ChatGPT can do very well. What I would not do is just go, hey, write me the next blueprint. And that goes towards its limitations, right? It's not an incredibly creative entity. You might disagree with me if you've used it a lot. Some people will. But if you use it enough, you start to recognize like certain things it does often. And it kind of does the same type of creativity over and over again. And that the create, and I'll put it in quotes, the creativity it's using is really just like whatever data, millions of and billions of pieces of data points that have been put into it. It's not making what humans have, this kind of like intuitive leaps with our minds, where it's like this, like juxtaposed with this equals this creative output. It kind of just is like, cool, we're being creative now, and it gives you the same thing every time. It loves to overwrite is another limitation that it has. It loves to write too much. It loves to use too many emojis. It loves to make lists. It loves lists. Big fan of lists. And so, and all of this to say that its biggest limitation thus far, no matter how good it's gotten, is that it lacks that human touch. It lacks like a human quality to it. It's a je ne sais quoi. It's hard to put our finger on it, but it doesn't feel human. I am someone that has read a lot of the output from ChatGPT for many different things, different industries, different, and it is it never ever I can tell when something is written by ChatGPT at this point, like almost instantly. And we'll get into that a little bit. So it required to really get something special from it. You need to add that human element, right? And so that's like tip number 1 with this as we go forward is you really can't take the human out of it. And we'll go into that a little bit more. Finally, I will just say we will only be working on with ChatGPT. There are other large language models. All the big companies are trying to get in on it. Meta, which is Facebook, has Llama, which is their model. They've got a different way. It's open source, meaning they kind of just give it out. You can use it and create things with it as you see fit. There's one called Claude, which is supposed to be great for writing. I wasn't impressed. And it can't connect to the internet. At least it couldn't last time I used it, which to me makes it far inferior just right off the bat. But some people love it, and I'm sure they're doing great. And then there's Gemini, which is Google's large language model. We will be using ChatGPT as I feel that currently it. Oh, and then there's one. Elon Musk has one. Grok, I think it's called. Currently, I feel like ChatGPT is ahead of the game, or was first out the gate and still has that lead. Okay, here comes the interactive part of today before we move on to me showing you things. How many of you have used ChatGPT or some other version? How many of you like continue to like use it as a part of your daily or weekly or whatever process with what you're doing? Awesome. All right, very cool. So this is an important thing. I've had I'm part of like different forums and message boards, especially like around content marketing, and there's like this like war of idea. One side is like, don't let anyone know you use it. It'll seem like you're like cheating or something. I don't know what they're worried about. The other side is like, this is the tool that everyone is going to have to learn how to use. I tend to fall into that camp. I just think that this is something that we're not going to be able to get away from. It's now part of the iPhone. It's just something that's going to continue to be around. For those of you that raised your hand, so not to call you out, but Greg and Josh, like Jamie also, what do you use it for? Like, in what way has it become a part of your process? So if anyone will jump in first, Mr. Purvis.
I use it essentially as like a personal assistant on a daily basis. So for a combination of different things. Like I had it write and time block my calendar for me. That was really, really useful. Give an unbiased third party opinion. A call that I was on the other day for a different website platform. The person used it with me like live on the call to do like a side by side comparison of like different things too. And so I've started using it for that. That's been really interesting. It charts everything out. And then, just using it for general research and comparisons. And then sometimes condensing emails. Like if I get an email and it's really long, I'll copy and paste the email into ChatGPT and I'll say condense this because I don't want to spend the time to read it. And then it'll condense it, give me the highlighted, spark notes of the email. And then that way I can read it faster and move on to the next thing.
Is that why you never, in my emails to you, you never respond to that I want to be best friends? I was wondering
exactly.
about that.
It's
you
just
always
giving
seem
me
to
the
just skip
spark
right.
notes
It's
and
like
it's
you didn't
leaving
even.
that out,
Yeah,
So
you're like, please condense Dan's email, but take out anything about how much he loves me, and then it's like 3 sentences. No, awesome. I think that's great. I mean, well, let me go through everyone first, and then we'll talk about it. Greg, what do you think? How do you use it?
So I've recently just started really using it almost daily now. And I'll give you a couple examples.
Yeah.
But for personal, I'm redecorating my short-term rental and on the beach in Destin. And I plugged in there that I wanted it to uh, I told it I was making it a nautical / pirate themed room for the kids. And
That's awesome.
I told it to give me some other room decor ideas with links that would match the wallpaper. And I posted an image of the wallpaper. That damn thing spit
Crazy,
out
right?
freaking 10 different things with links that I literally am using now. So there's that. Another example, I'm going to start calling realtors when they have a new listing. So I searched Zillow and I had it write a script for me on what to say regarding their listing. I tweaked it, modified it a little bit to fit my own personal, but I'm using that. And then here most recently, I told it that I wanted to do a 30 to 45 day realtor marketing campaign for realtors who I'm trying to establish a relationship. I said that the company I work for does something similar, blah, blah, blah. And gave me a full 30-day campaign and I told it to include emails, so anyway, it did all that. That would have, I don't know how long that would have taken me,
It's
to be
wild.
honest.
Yeah, it's wild. Even
Um,
if you have to go through and edit a bunch of it,
yeah,
right?
and I did, because it's not perfect. And then that ad that I sent you for the downstairs charging station in the gym,
Yes.
ChatGPT wrote that.
Oh, really? And it was great. It did
Yeah.
great. That's awesome. Ken
Yeah.
Jordan.
This is a little bit like you got to be careful with it, but it's been pretty effective for me. Underwriting questions, I actually pop them into ChatGPT and I ask for the selling guide chapter where they got the answer, and it's way quicker than Google. It's way quicker than and Diana is great, but it's quicker than Diana. It's quicker she is. Like if it's a question that I just need to get an idea of where to start to get the answer, it's been super effective. Like I said, you got to be careful because you can't swear by it, but I'm telling you, if you have an underwriting question, even something as similar as like, does Home Possible require you to be a first-time buyer, and you put that in there, it will give you the answer, and it'll also give you the part of the selling guide where you can go to get it. You can ask for the guideline. It'll go get the guideline and bring it to you. And it saved me a lot of time with simple, underwriting questions.
So awesome. And I'm so glad you said that, Ken, because I think that so first of all, yeah, tip number two, I guess as we're making a list is like is it what it does is it gives you whatever you want. Like if you ask, it's going to do it. If you ask it to do something or say something or write something or whatever, it's going to give you an answer, even if it doesn't have the right answer. And so that is like the biggest thing is that you need to make sure, but if you tell it like, no, I need you to go online and read this thing and tell me, where to find it, cite your sources, it will do that, right? And you can get it, but that you have to sort of guide it in that direction. Which leads to, and Josh, the way you're using it as a personal assistant, same with you, Greg. I think that is like the most disruptive form of it right now, and maybe its best form is as an assistant, right? As it can only do certain things. And I know there are what I'm about to say is not entirely accurate, but in its native normal, what it currently is, you can't have it like book flights for you and all this different kind of like assistant stuff like that. I'm hedging because I understand that there are tools that people have built out or trying to build out, where if there are like venture capitalists that have had their teams build out this whole yes, there are that will come, but as of right now, for your $20 a month subscription or whatever, you're not able to get that level. But you are able to use it as sort of your, like, imagine as someone sitting across from you that you can bounce ideas off of, have them do little tasks for you to get you further along as you focus on something else, and then you come back to it. And so this brings me to it, and I'm about to get into screen share and really get into it, but the biggest mistake that people make with these large language models is that they speak to them incorrectly. And they speak to them like either like I'm just giving orders, right? And that sounds good. It's like, well, why can't I? I'm not saying you have to be nice to it. I mean, is it remembering? I don't know. Time will tell. But you don't have to like talk to it like that. However, I do. And the reason that I talk to it as if I'm talking to another human being is I've noticed that it works better. If I just give commands, again, it's going to just give me what I want. Make me a list of X, do this, do that. Sure. But if I'm kind of going back and forth, what it does is it triggers in my mind what I need to get it to the place it needs to get to, right? And in that way, what I've come to think of it as, it's as if I'm working with the smartest 9-year-old in history, right? Like an all-knowing 9-year-old, because it knows that it has all the data. Like, one of the biggest problems these large language models are running into is that they've already used all the data. Think about that. All the internet, all the books, all the things. They're running out of data to the point where like Reddit and all these different places that have kind of closed off data are like, well, what's it worth to you, And they're licensing out data now at this point. But it's run out of like generally available data. So it knows everything, but it is not able to do human inference. Like if I was working with you, Josh, and I was sitting across from you, and you said, Dan, I here's a list of underwriting questions. I need you to get me the answers on these. It would be slower. The reason it would be slower is I would never just make stuff up. I would never just be like, this one you have to do form 8497, and yeah, like I would never just lie. Right, but it does. It doesn't mean to, but it just gives you the answer. But with a 9-year-old, you go, okay, you know everything, but what I need you to do is I need you to go to the guidelines and this whatever. I need you to get me the answers to this, and then give me highlight the sections you got them from and give them back to me. Right? Now that is very powerful. And so that is how you need to speak with ChatGPT, as if you are giving a 9-year-old very clear instructions, but also that 9-year-old happens to be like a super genius, all-knowing being. And so if you've used this before and you're like, it's fine, it's probably because of how you phrase things and put it in there and the back and forth you had with it. And if you're already using it at a high level and using it every day, and so Josh, Greg, I'm looking at you guys just because you said it. I encourage you to keep this in mind, like as you're going in, be very clear what you want, be very clear what you expect, right? And you'll find like, wow, like we're starting to rock and roll. Okay, so let me share my screen with you all.
Dan, one second, just to help drive home your point there, is whenever you're talking about data and like how to speak to it, is guys, remember that you are part of the data, right? So the way that you talk to it is how then it's going to talk back to you. So I've noticed the more that I communicate with it, the more it then starts to put emails together in the way that I would say it,
So well
but
said.
puts it together where it sounds a lot more intelligent, because I'm not great with the written word either. I'm much better with the spoken word. But as far as typing out an email, putting that together, that's not my strong suit. However, if I start talking to it in a certain way, then it'll put the things together in the way that I want to see it. So, like, keep in
Really well
mind, you
said.
are part of the data that it's going to use to then give you the information.
And it kind of is funny because it goes along with a lot of sales wisdom that I've heard before, or business wisdom of like, your output is like tied to your input, like these kinds of things, like that is very true in a moment to moment case with this, all the way to like, if you look over here, right, I have certain chats built up. Why are they called master chat? Because I want to go back to that same chat every time I do that activity. Why do I want to do that? Because over the course of months and years, it has built this like perfect thing that gives me exactly what I'm looking for. Right. And so let's like, for instance, with social nudge master chat. This is not a chat where I go in and like write me a social nudge, right? I find that the value of the social nudge, don't correct me if this isn't true. This is my own delusion. But I have found that with the social nudge is like I've made it a part of, like, I've added some of my personality to it, and I try to bring that to it. So I don't want it to just like, I don't want it to be this cookie cutter thing. But one thing I can repeat really quickly is when I take the time and read a story and know that I want to spotlight it for you, I can use this to give you a little description very quickly, right? I don't have to sit there and add that 10 minutes to write out my own descriptions for the two news stories that I chose, because 10 minutes times 5 times 52, and that's a bunch of time that I've spent on that, right? And so so for instance, I'll give you this example. Like, if I was doing, I went into I was gonna just like do what I normally do, like type in mortgage news and whatever. But the news isn't always looking very good these days. So instead, I'm going to talk about Klay Thompson. So Klay Thompson is a basketball player, and he went back home last night. He was with the Warriors for his whole career, and he left recently, and it was very sad. And he went back, and they honored him. And so let's pretend for a minute that this was the story that I wanted to share with you as part of the social nudge. All I have to do at this point is say now this, because it knows exactly what I want, because I've been using this for a few months. And I type in the actual story. I copy and pasted it. I don't have to worry about ads getting swept in. I don't have to worry. How sometimes stories will be like, read more, like, and it'll be like, are the Warriors destined for the final? Like, you don't have to worry about any of that. Like that, it naturally filters all of that out and gives me kind of just exactly what I want. Of course, now it won't. Oh, yeah. All right, cool. So I asked it knows to give me a short description of this story. And we'll see if it does it. It's usually faster than this. This is also something, this is going to be like while it's having fun. This is something that's going to be very big in the future, is that so many people are using this now, and it's taking up so much space on computers, that the people that can buy the enterprise level version of it and can basically buy more computer time are the ones that are going to benefit the most from this. All right, so click here. It actually starts writing it now. Also wonder if I'm running too many things on my own personal computer. Anyway, so it wrote this for me, right? And if you read it, it gives a nice summary of the entire story. You can copy and paste that directly into the social nudge, right? This obviously took longer than it ever usually takes me when I'm not also on Teams and screen sharing and everything else that's slowing my computer down. But like, if you think about like me writing my own version of this, it's either going to be worse and less. It's going to give you the LOs less, or it's going to make it so that I spend 10 minutes on it and then 10 minutes, 5 times a week. There's 50 minutes, almost, let's call it an hour every week. You're talking about, 52 hours total in a year that could have been spent on other tasks, right? And then also I want to show you, so this is really kind of the crux of what I kind of want to show you. And this is the thing that I said in my email, like 95% of people don't do this or know about this. My bar will be if I guess if Josh has never used this. So one of the cool things that you can do now is create your own GPTs within your system. And so what do I mean by that? Well, if I go here to explore and I hit create, it allows me to choose what data, what knowledge the GPT is pulling from. Right? So, okay, cool, Dan. So what? Like, what's the point? Well, Josh, you had said that you have it help you write emails, right? You have access to all your old emails that you've sent people. You could take all of your emails or all of your emails like to a certain type of interaction, maybe that you do often. And you could take all of them, put them in a Word document and upload them here, and it will pull from that directly every single time. Let's show real examples. So Rich Wydell, I created Rich GPT. Right, for a while, I was writing a lot of content on behalf of Rich, and I want my content to sound like Rich. Right, so I've actually, and pat myself on the back, I've gotten very good at writing in leadership's voices. Like if you want me to write, and I'm not going to do it here, it's not worth the time. But like if you told me to write one email and then do it as Rich, do it as Courtney, do it as Ig, I bet I could hit that mark pretty closely. But I still wanted a quicker way to do some of this stuff. So I started playing around with it, and I started building out. I took every email Rich has ever sent the company, and I put it into a Word document, right? Hundreds of pages of information. And then I uploaded it to this GPT. And by way of example, I started using it. So real quick, you've all known Rich, you've seen his emails and whatnot. So first I said, tell me about Rich Wydell, right? And here it's like Rich, CEO of Princeton Mortgage. Under Rich's leadership, Princeton Mortgage has prioritized healthy growth, leveraging unique sales approach, the Princeton selling system, which it has in there as well, placing strong emphasis on value of relationships, blah, 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 blah. Great. Tell me more about his voice. Well, Rich's Wydell's voice is direct. It's confident. It's motivational. He speaks with clarity, a sense of urgency. He often employs a no excuses mindset, right? Do the hard work, be relentless, choose to rise to the challenge. He speaks in, it says it here somewhere, like he speaks in shorter sentences. If you've ever read Rich's email, you know that's true. I said, all right, great. Write me a short email as Rich to the sales team about transparency, right? And what it immediately does, again, talking about its limitations, is it writes this long email. I've never seen Rich write an email that kind of looks like this. So I want you to picture every email we've gotten from Rich. It's just that, like, he doesn't write like big paragraphs like this all the time. It's usually like sentence. It's like white space, paragraph, other thing, right? So I'm like, okay, this is good. It started with team, which I like. He always starts as team. I said, okay, look at Rich's past emails and edit this one to be more like that with sentence structure. Right, so here's this last one. Again, just in your mind, just visualize emails you've gotten from Rich over the course of your time. And then, like, look at this one. Like, this is much more of a Rich email. Team, transparency is non-negotiable. It's how we build trust. It's the only way we can win together. No sugarcoating, no hiding issues under the rug. Like, he loves to think about how Rich talks and how he writes, right? He likes, like, boom, boom. Like, no sugarcoating, no hiding issues under the rug, right? If something's not working, we call it out. You get better. No, like, this to me is very close. And then back to like, go ahead.
Are you saying that you're actually the CEO of Princeton and Rich is just the face?
I'm not saying CEO. I'm not saying Rich disappeared in a plane, a mysterious plane thing 3 years ago. That's not what I'm saying. Well, what I am saying is don't worry about it. No, but if you look, like, this is close, right? And then we go back to that human element. You take it and you go through this. If this was Rich, and I should really share this with Rich, if this was Rich, right, think of that. I'm not saying I don't want him to be intentional, but think of the time that he could save, right? If he can get a first draft out quicker and then take the time to edit. We're all better at editing often than we are at writing from scratch, a blank page. And so, him taking something like this, what would I have him do? Well, whatever he wanted to write about, I would have him go here, start it under Rich GPT, which I like that his pictures here, so it makes me laugh. And then upload any of the data he wants to put in there. Here are links to the stories I've been reading. Here's this. I want to write about this. I want you to use this as the reference and use your knowledge of my last emails to make it sound like me. And even though this is built for that purpose, I still had to go in it, and this is important too. I still had to go in and remind it, hey, use your knowledge, use Rich's old emails to make it sound more like him. So there's that kind of like back and forth that takes place. Another example in real time. So press releases are something that I do regularly, right? They follow a similar format and template every single time. So what I've done is created a GPT for the press releases here at Princeton. Every time we write a press release, I re-upload it into here to expand its knowledge, right? And then writing a press release becomes a lot easier. And this is where I said I was going to use Brett Schroffnagel as my example. So Brett, thank you for being a good sport, even though I didn't ask you. So Brett, a lot of people don't know, Brett's been financing $100 million houses in New York. Just insane, Brett. Well done. Just absolutely killing it. Doing $125 million houses in upstate New York. No one freak out. No, he's not. But I hope he does. And that would be cool. And also, if anyone wants to buy this house and let me stay there, that would be greatly appreciated. Greatly appreciated. So if I'm like, okay, so, Brett, Brett, did I spell your name correctly? First go? I think I did. Did a huge deal recently. Right. And so I'm like telling it a story. Like this is how I talk to it. Like Brett Schroffnagel did a huge deal recently. Immediately what am I telling it with that sentence? I'm telling it it's a big deal. I'm telling it that this is how I feel about it. I feel like he did a huge deal recently that we want to write a press release for. Please use your knowledge and what you know about Brett when you write this. Here is the property. Boom. I put it in. It searches its knowledge, what it knows about Brett Schroffnagel. Right? It starts putting it together. Now, one thing that it's going to do wrong is because of what I told it to use. Look at all this information it's giving me. Look at Brett resides in the Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. Brett, there's a quote from Courtney in here because there was a quote from Courtney in Brett's press release, right? Like it's more about Brett and how much he likes to help, how much he cares about his clients and things like that. Great. Please, I always say please because I'm polite. Please do it again. This time, make it more about the property and less about Brett. Only have a quote from Brett about the deal. Right, so I'm telling it exactly what I want. I'm making it clear. We're proud to announce the financing of an iconic Hamptons property. It's telling you all about the property, how great it is, state-of-the-art chef's kitchen. Come on. Brett Schroffnagel, originator of Princeton, has led the financing of this impressive property. And a nice quote from him: helping clients secure this level of home is what makes our work so fulfilling, said Schroffnagel. This property is truly exceptional, and I'm honored to have played a role in helping our clients bring their dream home to life in the Hamptons. How great. You did an amazing job. What's the commission on that? What's 1% of $125 million? A lot? $1.25 million?
Capped at $4,000. That's what it is.
Okay.
But it all goes,
Right,
the rest goes in your P&L, so you're covered for
for
a
quite
long time.
a while. Dan, can I get some flyers made? You sure can. You sure can. All right. So this is how I use it in ways like this, right? But because I'm giving it information, it makes it a lot easier to get what I need. It's also in the press release GPT, when I built it, I put in a bunch of information about best practices with press releases, right? I gave it a lot of different information. It also has a lot of information kind of at its disposal. So if you're using it for emails, so Josh, you had mentioned using it for an email where you're going back and forth. Maybe it's a sales email. Maybe as you write it out, you go back and forth with it, you decide, I really wanted to have a certain urgency to it, right? So I'm gonna have it, I'm gonna have it use this sales formula, and I wanted to rewrite using that, right? So let's say you decide you're going to use before after bridge, like one of these acronyms for different types of sales writing, right? You can go in and tell it, hey, rewrite it in this way. You don't have to explain what it is. It already knows what you can even just say BAB style, and it will give you another version that's more in line with that type of sales methodology, right? So there's like a lot there too. As we're doing sales trainings here, right? I can actually upload video as part of its knowledge. It will take the transcript from the video already in the metadata. You don't have to do anything else, right? So in theory, I could create one where I take every sales training we've ever done. To save space, I would probably get the actual word transcripts from it, right? I could upload all of that information, and then you could use ChatGPT to like, hey, like what I feel like my prospecting is not going the way it used to. Like I just feel like I need a boost, and you could go into that ChatGPT and write like, give me ideas for prospecting, and it will not only draw from the internet, but it'll draw from all of this kind of methodology that Princeton puts out there in our sales trainings. And so really, like, you can build out your perfect personal assistant in this way, to Josh's point. And I think that this is like the best use case for it. So I'm going to stop there for a minute. Does anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns? Greg.
So as I've learned a little more about ChatGPT, I'm going to put in the chat, because what you're referring to is like how to speak to it, which is considered a prompt. And I guess from what I understand, there's actual degrees you can get on AI prompting, because it's like pretty. So I just put in the chat, through my research, that is what is considered the perfect prompt, which may help get the outcome you're looking for.
Really good point. And you're going to hear the word prompt more and more as time goes on. Like what they're starting to realize is like, for instance, so all right, so I have a couple of things on this. Like, one, a lot of people are terrified, especially like my industry and different, like my roles and whatever, like, oh, this is going to replace marketers, or it's going to replace this or replace that. And I understand, like, I totally get the fear there. And let's even like not use this as a version. Let's use one in the future where it's even better than what it is right now. I still don't think it's going to happen, and for a couple of reasons. One, think about like why snail mail works so well. Why does snail mail work well nowadays, like better than it did probably 25 years ago in certain aspects? Does anyone have any thoughts?
Why does what work better?
Like snail mail, or like more traditional, like what would be considered traditional sales approaches?
When people go to their mailbox, are typically understanding that they're going to have a bill or some type of promotion. And so when it's something from someone they don't recognize, or a handwritten note, it becomes exciting.
You're absolutely right to phrase what you said a little differently. Like, we are so not used to that type of communication anymore that the value has gone up, right? Everyone went digital. Like, I was there for when companies started going digital, and it was like everyone at once. Everyone's using ChatGPT, or a lot of people are. What does that mean? It means that like there's a natural sinking of quality down to like the lowest common denominator. Everyone is okay with like images that kind of look all weird and cartoony. Everyone is okay with social posts that are like emojis everywhere and this whatever. But because everyone was okay with it for a while, people are starting to not become okay with it. And so to me, as a marketer, the reason I'm not worried about my job is that it's like my job is to follow the trends and then find ways to like outperform the trends. And so knowing how to use ChatGPT is a must for me. Like I know some marketers that are like, I'll never ever use it. Like that's gonna be my pitch. It's like, but that like you're hurting yourself and people are not gonna like that. And you're making yourself less efficient. But at the same time, being able to write something and give that human element to it, and it is the value has gone up. So suddenly, like good writing seems really good compared to the writing that's coming out of that most people are using right now, and you can see it. So I know that we're almost out of time, so I want to go through a couple more things really quickly. So first, ChatGPT, even though I just made fun of it, can create images, right? So if I said create a social graphic for first time home buyers. No. I wonder, you know what? I wonder, create the actual image. Here we go. Now here's the problem. Sometimes they look fine and passable, and sometimes they look completely demented. Right. So this is something that they're working on and trying to get better with. I mean, look, like it's usually in the writing that things get messed up. Do you see how it's like blurry?
Yeah, the writing's always really bad. I
Always
like ask it to take all writing out whenever I have it do
Get
images. Yeah.
all written word in the picture. All right, it's gonna try again, and we'll see what we get out of it. So you can create graphics. Obviously, be very careful. Like always review everything, and if it's not working, like don't waste your time. Like you will frustrate yourself. This I would argue this is a much better thing, but it's very obviously AI generated.
Well, and then you can Canva the writing over it, so like I've
Yep.
done that before in the past, is make it create like that as the image and then Canva over it.
Absolutely
that's
right.
cool.
And they even have, Josh,
You don't
can
have
actually
copyright infringement with this either, as far as images and stuff go. So, like, if you're trying to take something from the internet, you have to be careful about where you got it from, things like that. If it's going to go viral or something, typically you don't have an issue, but there's no kind of infringement on these images either, which is nice.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. And then okay, so these are great. A couple other bits as we're about to end that I want to go over is like they have an app now on your phone. The amazing thing about the app on your phone is you can actually talk back and forth with it, and it will speak to you. You can set it up so it actually talks back to you, which is cool, especially if you're using it as an assistant. Like to have it there, and then as Apple integrates it into Siri, you're gonna like. I think that's the next big jump that people are not fully aware. Like, because right, when they roll something out, it's never great at first. I think right now people are like, oh, what a dud. It's like, wait a year. Like, we are gonna get to a place where you have your AirPods in, and you're like, hey Siri, I hope all your phones just woke up, and you're like, hey Siri, blah 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 blah, and instead of it just giving you like one answer, it's gonna be able to go back and forth with you, which I think is a game changer, especially if you're doing work. Also with the app, you could take photos of things and ask it like, what is this? Where is it? Where can I find this? What can I do with this? Can you explain this to me? And it will actually explain what it is and give you more information on it. You're also seeing this with Meta's new thing. They have these glasses that you can actually be like so. Greg, I think your use case is really interesting. Where, and I saw this with the Meta glasses also, like, hey, like, and showing it a pair of pants, like, what shirt goes with this? Like, show me that shirt. Where can I buy it? Like things like that. So it's like there are those use cases as well. I would say we're not far away, and this part's maybe discouraging for some people, but we're probably not far away from like, you having a pair of glasses on with a camera in it, where you're able to be at like a networking event, look at someone and go, "Hey, who is that? Can you connect with them on LinkedIn?" So that's, we can talk more about how we feel about that in a different type of venue, probably all drinking bourbon at Greg Daniels' house. And then I know you like bourbon, Greg. Right? Wasn't that you? Don't you like bourbon? Or did someone send you bourbon? Mike
Well, I'm
Hefner
actually,
said-
I don't drink alcohol at all, but clients think that I do, so they often gift me alcohol.
Well, fantastic. Sorry about that. And I appreciate it.
Yeah, that's that bourbon back there. It's for it's decoration.
It's a beautiful decoration. The other thing too is that we can use, okay, final wrap up with different tips on this. First of all, I encourage everyone to go on ChatGPT and start building out one of your own to play with, right? Put in your social posts from the past that you've written, put in emails that you've written, put in anything that you're comfortable putting out there and sharing, and watch how well you're able to work with it. Josh, you're already using it for things like you can actually import chats into the new GPT, and I'd be happy to help you with that. So like you can even create this kind of background GPT. Then if you have a master chat that you've been using, like import that in, and then have like, this artificial being that pretty much knows everything about you and how you like to run your business that you can go back and forth with.
Yeah, so do you have to tag something specifically like in a different chat to have it also as part of like the master chat? Like how does that work?
Sure. So in general, so this is also tip number 2 or whatever. I always try to use the same chat for the same different types of things. So I have like a personal assistant chat, and it's the same chat I've been using for like 2 years. Right? That it's kind of grown with me as time has gone on. With this, if you go in and you can actually go in and like with like this Brett Schroffnagel one, you can go in and have it and like switch or like edit the GPT that you want it using. In general, if I use one of these, like, so everything I write as Rich, or everything I write as Marketing Machine, or everything I write is, it's all being saved back to its general knowledge.
In that one.
So it's pretty cool. The other thing is,
Go
ahead, Greg.
I was just going to say I've been using the free version. I haven't sprung for the $20 a month yet, but I'm really debating whether there's a benefit to it. And Josh, I think you said before, yeah, definitely. But it seems to be serving me for what I'm using it for. I'm not sure how much more benefit I'd get paying $20 a month. What is your thoughts on that?
I'll let Dan speak first, and then I can give my opinion too. But
I personally see the investment as worth it. Obviously, you manage it as you see fit. You get like higher up in line, so to speak, for the computer, the GPU that you're using on their end. So that alone, I think is probably worth the $20. But there's a lot of little features that I think also are great. Josh, what are your thoughts?
yeah, same. To me, the memory is better too. And
Yeah.
I'm looking at adding an extension for like my branch also. So I also use it for another company, but I have the $25 a month like enterprise version, and I can create like different companies within the company. So that way it's like for the company, everybody in that company can then have access to that one, and then we can communicate together with it, and they can all see like the things I'm putting in. I can see the things that they're putting in. So then like for the branch, the same thing is whenever we're talking about marketing or different things like that, well, then we can put it all together in this one chat GPT and have it as like a Princeton mortgage page. So like in that bottom left-hand corner, add team workspace. All I do is I create a team workspace, and then I can add different people into that workspace for like different companies. So that's been a pretty cool usage of it too. But mainly on the memory side, just whenever I was using the free version, it seemed like the memory of communicating back and forth just wasn't as good on the free version as what it is on the paid version.
Good points. All right. I want to respect everyone's time. I appreciate you staying over with me and for getting involved, and especially like Josh, Greg. I appreciate you giving your thoughts on it. Ken, shout out to Ken wherever he is. Um, but I will just end with this really quick, like quick recap. So these are not going away. You're going to see them more and more integrated into your daily life. And so getting a leg up now and learning how to use and speak and interact and interface with these types of technology is, I think, really, really valuable. Like there's a reason all these big companies are investing so much money in it is because they know that there are elements of it that could like almost kill their service offering. So Google's a great example of that. Like there's going to come a point with where like you don't go Google for your questions. You ask your personal assistant that's in your ear and it pulls from wherever it's going to pull from. Um, the it has improved so much in a year. It's wild. I don't really even have the words to explain how it's improved, but if you've used it this whole time, you know what I'm talking about. I can't imagine where it's going to be a year from now. The other thing is, when you're using it, I encourage you to either use one chat over and over again for different tasks so that it builds up that knowledge or create its own GPT for it. Remember, it is great at churning out lots of output, but the input is the most important part. So how you're talking to it, what you're giving it, how you're interacting with it is super important. Make sure that you are talking to it like a super intelligent 9-year-old and giving it the information it needs to give you what you need. Focus your brain power on the creativity aspect, the human creativity aspect, and not on like the building. It's good at the building, you're good at the creativity. You bring those together and you can do some really amazing stuff. Make sure you're editing everything you're using. Make sure that you're going through everything and making sure it's accurate. Get sources where you need to, especially anything to do that could hurt you with compliance. I'm not just saying that as someone that's representing Princeton Mortgage. I'm saying it as someone that takes a lot of pride in representing each and every one of you. Like, I don't want you getting burned because you just trust something out of hand. It will make stuff up. Don't allow yourself to do that. When in doubt, ask. When in doubt, send it my way. And it's very good at direct feedback and giving it exactly what you want. So just keep giving that feedback and consider it like getting a block of clay and you're the one that has to do all the details once it created the statue. Like that's your job. Finally, play around with the app. There's lots of cool stuff there. And while we're talking about ChatGPT and the content creation element of it, the AI part of it is being used in a lot of cool places. There are note takers for meetings that are very useful and interesting. There are you're going to see it more in Slack and in Teams. Being able to actually be a participant in conversation. Hey, what did me and Greg talk about where we did X, Y, and Z? We were talking about a project we wanted to run. It was probably a year ago. It's going to be able to give, oh yeah, you and Greg were talking about starting a a horse farm together, and here are your ideas around it. So like it's gonna the applications are going to continue to grow. In general, I encourage you to go and play around with this, learn it, get your hands dirty, so to speak, digitally, and try to find how it can help you be more productive, take stuff off your plate so that you're able to do more or relax more or whatever it is that you value right now. I, for one, am using this every single day, but not as a replacement for what I normally do. But I see it as like Josh does, like Greg is starting to, as this personal assistant where I can give it tasks to help work on over here so that I can move this forward and then kind of come back to it. And I've noticed that my production has gone up significantly. So does anyone have any final questions, comments, or concerns that don't have to do with the overthrow of humanity? All right, fantastic.
Great training, Dan. Yeah, this was good.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. I appreciate you all so much. Talk to you soon.